Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Whiskey Podcast. I'm Chudata.
I am Nate Fu.
And we are coming to you live, well, recorded for those of you listening later on, with our very sexy, brand new intro video. So what do you think?
I like it. I think you put that together pretty handily.
Well, we'd love to hear what everyone else has to think. So whether you're watching this live, listening to it, or watching on YouTube, give us a holler and let us know how we did. So, where are we? Well, last episode, as some of you may remember, Nate Fu's AC wasn't working or hadn't just been fixed, which is very good since right now it's 117, not 170, 117 here in the valley. And we are drinking Four Roses Small Batch. You got any notes on that?
I actually do not. The wives picked this up because apparently, they are fully on board with us getting drunk every 2 weeks. Well, drinking every 2 weeks, and have been looking up articles on various whiskeys and other spirits that we could partake during our episodes.
All right. Well, I got some notes here. So what's cool about Four Roses is the fact that their small batch bourbon is actually a blend of 4 separate bourbons.
Do we know what types of bourbons they are as I slam into the desk?
This is 2, 3, 7, and 8, age 7 to 8. So we've got slight spice and rich fruit mixes.
Okay. I can kind of feel that.
Rye and baking spice, rye and light floral character is the combination. Delicate grains and light floral character. Not bad.
What's the base on this? Is this a mash? Is this a rye? Is this a...
This is a rye.
Nice, okay. That explains a lot.
And what else we got from them? They're also saying, tasting notes, that it is a mellow spice with rich fruit, hints of sweet oak and caramel, soft, smooth, and pleasantly long. I'd agree with all those sentiments.
Yeah, I think the wives yesterday had mentioned something about it being very cinnamony. So.
Yeah. I'd buy that.
Yeah. Good choice. Good choice, Mrs. Fu, for picking that one out and reading the article.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. So, why are we dealing with 117-degree weather?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer is, of course, we've screwed up the climate for so long that, global warming has decided to kick us in the butt. Because that's, we just needed one more thing for 2020.
Right.
But, it's, this is, we actually broke records that have, for the valley was set in, I want to say 1934.
Yeah.
Of 114. So.
I've started following the LA Fire Department Twitter account and just watching all these, random brush fires, springing up all over the valley at this point.
Oh, like the one that happened literally 2 blocks away from here. We actually got off at that off ramp to get here today, and basically right off the freeway. There was a patch of grass there, so I'm guessing someone either chucked a cigarette butt out or something into it. But it jumped the street.
Oh, it did.
And you could see charred up right along people's houses. A couple of palm trees were completely gone. It was an absolute miracle that there was no loss of property, at least not that we could see.
Right, but thinking about that, it was 165 firefighters dispatched to it that got there within 5 minutes of the announcement.
Right.
They had helicopter and plane support. and they had 22 engines there for 5 acres.
Mm-hmm. And it just so happened that yesterday in the mad scramble that was tech support for the new file server here, I happened to be driving back and forth when that whole thing broke out. So yeah, I saw it from when it happened to when the first engines rolled up to it. I walked in the door and said, "Someone throw on some news," because there's you can physically see the smoke and how close it was to the house.
Right.
Well,
yeah. So speaking of that file server, which still isn't up and running.
It works for me. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Any other device in the house.
Right. Technology hates you.
Yeah, we're thinking of adding a whole lot of more content to the Whiskey podcast, Debuff Dads overall. Really trying to double down on a content creation, a content studio here.
Yeah, and we needed a little more space, as much as we could store stuff on the cloud, having something localized that we could work off a lot faster makes a whole lot more sense, especially when you're doing large video edits or multi-track audio edits.
And 8 terabytes ain't too shabby.
8? 11?
Oh, it was showing 8 before. Was that before it
that was
recovered?
Before we reformatted.
Ah, yes. 11 terabytes ain't too shabby.
I could find some good use for that. But yeah, it's ironic that we lead in with the heat wave and a fire in our immediate vicinity. Considering, I guess it is First Responders Month, First Responders Recognition Month, along with Mental Health Suicide Awareness Month.
Oof. I can see how that combination works, especially in 2020.
Yeah, so it was we had a guest on the Guardians MH podcast, Mila Lee. I guess she's a voice actor. She's done some
You've heard her
work.
stuff in Apex.
Right, Apex Legends. She's Lifeline. She's, I think, Jade in Mortal Kombat 10 and 11. And apparently she does some kids cartoon shows that I'm not familiar with yet. But
give it time.
Yeah, she apparently. At one point in time, was rescued by a first responder, so she's at kind of a place near and dear to her heart. I was actually unaware of this being a thing until we had her on as a guest, so it was kind of took me off guard. But it's something that both, especially me, you haven't been around for a lot of it, but we have first responders in our family.
Yeah.
The fact that my wife's father basically dedicated his life to the Red Cross, and she followed in his footsteps. And one of the big ones, she drove headlong into Hurricane Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
To go provide meals and food.
And it's more than just volunteering. Like she's a certified driver for
has gone above and beyond to drive ERVs, and she's worked shelters on a regular basis. Before we had kids, kids have kind of taken that a little back, especially now with COVID. We haven't done any shelter work, and it's been needed. But yeah, drove into a hurricane, or drove into a post-hurricane, drove into a active train crash site up in the hills by us here to, man the triage and make sure that the first responders are taken care of. So, yeah, it's this month actually kind of holds personal meaning for me.
But think about how many emergencies and natural disasters happened during this time.
Mm-hmm.
We just had 2 hurricanes hit simultaneously the U.S. and do drastic devastation. We have the fires out here in California because, why not? We have the derecho, which was that inland hurricane that we talked about during the last episode. And now we're at record heat temperatures, and apparently there's a cold front moving through next week.
Not only a cold front, a 60-degree drop cold front.
Right. That in the middle of September is going to put snow on the Rocky Mountains.
Yep. It's going to drop from highs in the mid-80s, mid-90s, in the Montana, Dakotas, all the way down into the Nebraskas. And it's going to drop to highs of 33.
Yes. In
3 days.
3 days.
So this is going to be interesting. Yeah, Mother Nature is really trying to kick us off her back these days. But yeah, first responders and suicide awareness. It was something that again, they kind of go hand in hand. When your year is constantly dealing with literally putting out fires, constantly. And you don't always put them all out. You don't always save everything. You don't always save everyone. You know, your first responders, your police, your medics, your firefighters, your people like you and me when we work in our mental health capacity. We're the first person that people come to, right? And we could either help them find the right resources, help them find some sort of, I don't know, direction and solace. Or we completely screw up and who knows what happens.
Right. Well, and I think there's the conversation that goes into how we as a society, especially recently, have really shafted first responders in the first place. You know, you go from everything from the fact that the wildfires in California are fought by inmates that make $1 a day or $1 an hour, some ridiculously low number, and then aren't qualified, although that law was recently changed. They couldn't, leave jail and get a job as a firefighter.
Right.
But that has recently changed as of an article I saw yesterday. But, we look at the situations and the plight going on in a lot of cases. Police and ambulances can't respond as quickly as they once were able to because they've been underfunded. So firefighters have had to step up significantly, especially when off fire season, and be the medical first responders. Usually you'll see firefighters at a crash out here in California long before you ever see a police officer. Then we talk about police officers themselves and the defunding police and things like that. To be blunt, Black Lives Matter, we're 100% behind it. But you also have to understand that when they talk about defunding the police, it's not, oh my God, the police are bad and need to be completely taken care of or gotten rid of. It's the conversation that no, all those extra programs that were there to support community development had their funds pulled and thrown all onto the backs of the police department.
You look at it. Let's put this in terms that most people can understand. You got to build. You got to build something, right? Mm-hmm. You open up your toolbox and all you have is a hammer. Is that going to get the job done? No. You need a screwdriver. You need a wrench. You need a measuring tape. You need all these other tools. Mm-hmm. Our police are a hammer. That's what they're designed to do. They're designed to hammer down the nails and keep everyone on the level, on the board. But sometimes you got to screw loose. Mm-hmm. You don't send in a hammer to take care of a screw loose. You send in a screwdriver. And so defunding isn't take the money away from the police. It's buy less hammers, buy some more screwdrivers, buy some more tape, buy some more glue.
And give all those tools the resources they need to get the job done.
Exactly.
And, you think about the training that goes into all the other social jobs that are out there. Social workers, nurses and doctors, first responders, even firefighters. And, you're looking at the police department, which doesn't require a whole lot of immediate education. And then you're dropping extra things on top of them that their basic training isn't going to even handle. That's setting things up for failure, especially when you've got some ingrained issues.
Yeah, I mean, there are some that the training that they are receiving isn't.
It's not sufficient.
It's not sufficient, right? They're trained to react, and they're trained to react on a situation that has an inherent bias on it, right? Mm-hmm. When you're literally told, and this is barring race, you are literally told to go into every situation fearing for your life because everyone that you're going to encounter on a call is a criminal. That's wrong. Mm-hmm. And again, that doesn't account for now factor race into it.
Yeah, now factor race, now factor other prejudices into it. factor the social economic issues that go along with it.
So.
Police as an organization are so understaffed to deal with all the issues that have been thrown on top of them that, giving them more military hardware doesn't solve the problem. It more or less reinforces it because it's the only hammer that they have available.
Yeah, I mean, and I've had friends that work in that are firefighters that work at LAFD that have been shot at for trying to put a fire out in a crack house, because if they put the fire out, the occupants would then be arrested for having a crack house.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? Again, you don't know that. You get a call for a fire. The neighbor reports, my neighbor's house is on fire. Fire department shows up, not knowing that someone's got a meth lab in their garage. Doesn't know that in this case, a friend of mine had an ammo reloading station in his garage, right, to do legally, and he was a hobbyist. He reloaded his own ammo, but as soon as they found out, it was like, hey, I have a reloading station in my garage. We can't touch the house.
Mm-hmm.
Your house is a potential claymore. And that was, my friend at least had the foresight to tell them and knew that was the case and that's why they informed him. But some people don't. Like, no, go put my house out. And they turn out after the fact that, oh yeah, we're sitting on
just a bit of gunpowder.
Yeah, 355-gallon drums of gunpowder. Yeah.
Yeah. So, beyond that rant, for everything that first responders have to deal with across the board, whether you're police, fire, medical, social, for all of our public servants, we thank you.
Yeah. Cheers.
And God willing, we get the resources you guys need.
I see is it one of the wives has been chatting?
Yeah, Lady Fu is popping in, giving her 2 cents.
Gotcha. Hi, wife. How are the kids doing?
So, as you might imagine, now that they've got their AC working, it's still hot, so they're still over daily, using the pool.
That's not me, man. At that point, I don't even know what the hell is going on half the time.
We had a conversation yesterday.
Let's get into the life portion of this real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a conversation yesterday about the fact that everyone's got their schedules. You're able to go in and work. The wives and mother-in-law have their school schedules that they follow. And so when there's some issue where all that doesn't work, I end up handling and juggling the schedule of, oh yeah, all these other things are happening now. Can I step in and help with them? So girls are in the pool, or someone has to pay attention to them. Or like this morning, your daughter decided she didn't want to come over immediately. And then after she was done with whatever she's doing, okay, we're coming over now. No one else was home yet, but you guys came over now.
And then, again, we had the situation yesterday. It's like, oh, by the way, we have a guest coming over. Thanks for telling me. Oh, wait, I thought I told my sister.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, we've had a couple wonderful issues this week where someone's told someone, but it hasn't quite made the full circle.
A lot of assumptions have been made, but yeah, it's all, you roll with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I almost feel like I'm blessed that I actually have a 9-to-5 job to go to every day that I don't have to. I'd go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go absolutely crazy. I'd be building file servers.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, and devising schemes for
world domination.
Well, expanding our media package. Like, what would you call that?
Our offering.
Our offering, yeah.
Soon we're going to have a web series entitled the Mag Park IT Guy.
Oh my god.
It'll be in the vein of so much Dad Wrote a Porno. Stay tuned. But what else?
You joke about this. But, I mean, it might get down to that, the way things have been going.
What, the podcast about it, or you actually doing it?
Me actually doing it?
I'm just saying, for an extra $20.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I see you found the yoga ball. I've been following in the footsteps of our good friend Dan Finity and working on the computer with that. Problem is that's a bit smaller, so
Yeah,
I'm
a little low.
bit low on working now.
That was funny.
It's helped the core.
I did my donut store walk this morning at 6:30, and it was already 85 degrees out.
Jesus.
Yeah. And on my way back, I guess one of my neighbors is getting rid of one of those the kneeling chairs.
Yeah. Oh, I hate those.
I love those. I had one and absolutely destroyed it, but I was very tempted to scoot it home.
Put the donuts on it and ride it like a little skateboard.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like, I guess that was the other thing that happened this week. I had to completely rearrange my office. Took after your lead here. The desk I was working on, well, the desk my wife was working on to do her teaching was just a little corner desk, and it just wasn't right. So we managed to finagle a desk out of a friend of ours. Thank you, Mel. But had to move it, assemble it, take out the old desk, move that around. I ended up reusing part of the old desk for my new desk, taking out I don't know if you would even call it a desk. I can post a picture up on the Twitter page. I was basically using a half of an entertainment center and a coffee table and 3 TV trays for my
it was a magical setup
for my war room. Yeah, it was comfortable, but it was very flexible. Couldn't
also
work,
like Nate.
Yeah, couldn't work very long hours on it because again, you're working on a TV tray, and then my mouse is over on a different TV tray. It was a thing. I figured I'd get a desk up and running, but then the shortcoming was my chair.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but hey, your old desk isn't going to, be abandoned. It's being split in two. You're using part of it, and the other half of it's going to be given to our mother-in-law because she also teaches. And
we're doing that another weekend when it's not 118 out.
Oh, we'll do it when the snow hits next week.
Oh, gosh. So that's been life.
Yeah.
Life's been hell. And we have the heat to prove it. How's the parenting venture been?
Yeah.
I have a child that likes to poop on the floor.
For attention.
For attention.
She knows how to use the bathroom, and she's proven it. She knows what the triggers are. But I think she told your wife the other day, I need more of your time, and I don't like you when you're working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my 3.5-year-old.
Oh.
My 3.5-year-old, who this morning, in a fit of rage, shoved my 2-year-old off our captain-style king-size bed because she didn't like that her sister was touching me.
Yeah, she's got a bit of rage issues.
Yeah.
She's also, has that mischievous evil grin or laugh.
Oh my God. What do I call it? The Tyler Durden laugh. If any of you don't know that reference, go watch Fight Club. You will understand the Tyler Durden laugh.
Right. I know, like on our end, my little Ewok just went through a massive growth spurt, and you could see that she just filled out.
Mm-hmm.
She's gained like 1 pound in the last week, which is huge because she's only 13 pounds right now. And on top of it, the missus, our Ewok is entirely breastfed at this point, has decided to cut out the nighttime feeding, middle of the night one. which is, important. Everyone's ready for it, but now it's retraining everyone. So last night I took drugs and was able to sleep, and I think everyone for the most part did pretty well. But the night before, when we made that decision, was a whole lot of, Mama Bear and I up all night waiting for that other shoe to drop. And then our little girl adapting every 2 seconds to a new sound, or, oh, should I be awake now? Wait, I'm used to being awake now. But, okay, I'll go back to sleep. How about now? No, no, no. How about now? No. Am I hungry? No, I'll go to sleep.
Right. Yeah, and I remember that. I remember when they were trying to figure out what all these new experiences were, and then how to respond to them, and then how that response got responses.
Yep.
So.
Insane, isn't it?
To anyone that has two kids that are close in age together, you understand if you're on the underside of this, where you're about to have two kids that are very close together. I wish you luck. You can hit me up anytime. I will be happy to give you any advice that I learn. We basically essentially have three at this point with how close our girls are together.
Yeah. We've all gotten the training. Well, on top of that, there's now been more conversations recently about our Ewok's brother, since the common hope apparently is that we'll have a little boy next.
I feel so bad for him.
So do I, as the only guys in this entire household and family. It'd be awful, but, now that the conversations are happening a little more regularly. And yeah, my girl's only 7 months, so we can wait a while. Trust me, I'm okay with that. Let's, not have another kid during a global pandemic.
Well, I mean, we're looking at possibly having a vaccine by the end of this year, and
yeah, but entertainment, which is the industry I'm in, isn't looking to recover until summer 2021 at the best.
Yeah.
Most likely 2022 at the more realistic.
Yeah, and mine literally hinges on the efficacy of this vaccine. If whatever comes out is on the level and it works to I don't care about your anti-vax opinion, whatever, you're going to do what you're going to do. But if we can get enough people out there with an effective vaccine that we can establish some sort of herd immunity, then air travel kicks back off.
Right.
Air travel kicks back off, my job goes back to normal.
Yeah, but, just looking at where things are right now, regardless of politics, the latest studies show 400,000 people dead from COVID by January.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if everyone wears masks and takes proper precautions in just the U.S.
Oh, I think by the time this episode drops, we are going to, well, what is today? The 6th?
6th or 7th? I don't know. Let's find out. Working. Today is the 6th, yes.
The 6th. So sometime in the next week, there is apparently the Great Mask Off, where everyone is going to buck the system and use a show of force to say, we are not going to wear masks regardless of what you do.
Yeah,
it's a counter-protest, right? I think it's silly. I can't...
The ignorance and idiocy of it is ridiculous.
Yes.
I mean, in what case, if you are so fragile that wearing a mask is detrimental to your ego and to your way of life, then you need to take a much harder look at yourself. That's my opinion.
Right.
Now, I've traveled all over the world. I've been in China, where a good chunk of the population wears masks daily.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just part of the way of life. And it's not necessarily because they're ill or sick. It's because they don't want to spread anything to other people. And it's a sign of respect to others. And, we're, as the United States, are the ones that have the hardest problem with that. But, Let's not even go there at this point. Now, on top of the COVID pandemic, we're entering flu season.
Right.
And flu season, on average, takes, 130 to 160, 180,000 on really, really rough years each year.
Mm-hmm.
So we could easily be losing, a ton of people because we don't know how influenza and COVID strains will interact or, double down in some situations.
Oh, really? How to tell the difference between which one
Right.
on the onset of it, because the symptoms are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Like, the old saying is, I may not agree with what you're saying, but I will defend to my last breath your right to say it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we have our protests, we have our sit-ins, we have our do whatever. You want to do this mask off, you do you. I think it's
then the consequences.
just like they, that other side looks at us and says you're being irresponsible or you're being sheep or you're being whatever. I'm going to say the same thing. So you take that narrative for whatever you want.
Yeah, but there's some fundamental differences in a lot of this across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the big thing to understand: your right to free speech doesn't mean you're immune from the consequences
Correct.
of your actions.
Correct. And that goes both ways.
Yeah. The right to free speech is just that the government cannot impose restrictions on you for speaking out.
Correct.
Specifically protecting the media.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that you can make a decision and stand on it and other people can't sue you for discrimination.
Right. There's the Supreme Court, there's the local court, and there's the Court of Public Opinion.
Yeah.
And you may be protected in all levels of the legal court. The Court of Public Opinion will convict
we
you.
had a great conversation the other day about what is this cancel culture situation.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm glad you were picking up what I was putting down there.
Yeah, good transition. My whole philosophy on cancel culture is it doesn't exist. For the longest time, people could get away and say whatever they wanted because it was money and that really supplied access to the ability to make a large statement, say it and share it and have an impact on things. And the truth of the matter is technology now has democratized that amongst every other industry and every other capacity to some degree. And now anyone who has any kind of platform can use their soapbox and their bullhorn and say something, and enough people follow with it, they can impact someone's livelihood.
Sure.
They can shut down a business. They can change a product. And that's not cancel culture. That just means more people have access to shut down things or to react to things than just the people who had the access, 2 decades ago.
Yeah, we look at cancel culture and we think that it's this big social media push. And let me tell you, Yelp review bombing has been happening long before social media cancel culture. And then movie review sites and game review sites, review bombing.
Yeah,
It's essentially the same thing. That's your cancel culture right there. It's if you have a negative opinion on something, that's fine. If you want to be honest and true with that negative opinion, so be it. But when you start rallying the troops and getting entire droves of people that don't even know what the product is or don't even know what the situation is, and they will immediately come in and thumb it down.
Yeah. Well, and you think about it in our entire history. We as humans, forget just Americans, we rewrite our history constantly, and it's to suit our individual needs.
Right.
Before that used to be, people in power and authority. There's a reason you're not taught in schools about Black Wall Street or talked about the Salina, Kansas massacre,
Right.
or things like that, because those are parts of society or information that was deemed canceled. We wanted canceled. We didn't want the recollection of it for what it was. now suddenly every person who could get two people to listen to them has the ability to have that kind of pull. More people get information from Wikipedia and Google than they do from that limited access encyclopedia that has to be vetted by the Texas School Board.
And say what you will about that, the internet is a boon to getting information, but you have to go beyond page 1 and the first 3 recommended clicks. Right? You search up a topic, and you get the first 3.
Yeah.
You see what those are. Go to page 2. Go to page 3 and read those. You may not agree with them, but it's going to give you a more rounded take on whatever it is.
We've also had this situation of the conflict between truth, facts, and reality.
Sure.
Truth is what you interpret the facts to be. Facts are reality observations. And those are not like, well, I take it for a fact that I'm the best dad in the world, which I don't believe is the case. Facts are the temperature gauge is reading 117 degrees out.
Well, yeah, there's facts and there's immutable facts.
Right. And what people have started doing is trying to take those facts and immutable facts and argue them to reframe things. And because people are, it's like changing a sentence structure. Because they're willing to say 2 plus 3 equals 6, when we've all known 2 plus 3 equals 5 for the longest time.
Wait.
Suddenly arguments can't work, right?
Shit. I gotta redo everything now.
This is why you're IT and I handle the business. No, think about it for a minute. How much of what you're told is facts is actually someone's interpretation of events?
Well,
history, as we're taught in schools, is 100%.
Since we're already down the political scheme, let's even go into religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many people holding a Bible now can turn to the binder and see it's got a version?
Right.
That's a revision. That's
How many different, I don't even know what the correct word, not sects, but not cults, but how many different denominations of Christianity exist?
Right.
And within each one of those denominations, how many different interpretations of what everyone thinks is the same tenets are there?
Yeah, you're no longer dealing with now. You're looking at that reference material, and now that's what you consider facts.
Right. Oh, and you're looking at that reference material after it's been translated several times.
Correct. So,
who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's change to something happy. What's going on in the game world these days?
Gaming is probably one of the brightest things to have come out of this entire pandemic. If you're a game company owner.
Right.
Gaming stocks are through the roof right now. Apparently Nintendo reported a stock increase since the pandemic started of 478%. You have companies like Epic that have reported $13.7 billion in profits.
Just since the pandemic began. Wow, I picked the wrong business.
And before you say, well, with Epic, that's all just Fortnite. Fortnite is about $2 billion of that. It's significant.
Yeah. Well, Epic's big thing is the Unreal Engine.
Correct.
And the Unreal Engine powers so
many games.
Well, not just games. It's used in television and film. Mm-hmm. It's used in animation. It's used in training. The Unreal Engine is even used right now in architecture and design.
Yep.
It's used in prototyping.
Yeah, all those home improvement shows when they do the slide in of the new whatever, how the home's going to look. That's all Unreal Engine. That's all tied into Epic.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, $13.8 billion.
You have to say that, put in your pinky.
$1 billion, yeah. And, yeah, it's... And we still don't have a price for the next gen consoles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, again, September what?
Right. Well, let's not even talk about next gen consoles. Did you see the Nvidia release?
I've already gotten 3 phone calls from friends of mine that are hobbyists that went, "Is this real?"
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that those prices are going to hold.
Well, that's the thing. They can do it for so cheap now that if the RTX 2000 series was such a drastic improvement, they basically just took that entire architecture and doubled down on its capacity and capabilities.
Sure, but now you're getting into, but you're going to get into basic economics here, supply and demand. I don't know that they're going to be able to hold the prices that they're advertising. And now, for disclosure, the 3070 series NVIDIA that's coming out, it's purportedly...
Which comes out tomorrow, I think, is the formal launch.
Right. The performance specs on that is the 3070, which is the low end of the 3 cards that they're releasing, is double.
Well, no. 3060 is the low end. 3070 is the mid-tier, standard access. But that's still double.
Yeah, it's double the current 2080 Ti card, which is your top of the line.
Yeah, it outperforms Titans, which are supposed to be the best of the best.
For $500.
Right? I mean, the scale and access of that means they get to corner the market, and they basically can make console gaming to a certain degree from just a hardware perspective obsolete.
Yep. And then there's the 3080.
The 3080
is only $200 more.
And requires, 3 slots, PCI slots?
Is it something like that? Does it actually need 2 plugins, or is it just because of cooling and whatnot?
It needs 2 plugins.
I know they were saying that the power requirements on the 3080 is the card itself is going to need 350 watts dedicated.
I mean, I remember we just, not recently, but about a year and a half ago, built out 3D capable render machines for the old company I was with. And probably about $4,500 a piece. And we had Titans in those machines and a lot of RAM. We had Quadros in those machines and a shit ton of RAM. And we're like, these are powerful. They're still struggling with some things, but whatever. These new, even the cheap entry-level one is twice the power. I don't know if that's exactly true, so don't, fact check me. But it is so significantly overpowered than even the Quadro offers for a third of the price of what the Quadro goes for. I mean, we talked about how the internet democratizes things. Now you have someone who could do a full render capability in their home for what it used to take, $20,000, $30,000 to set up a basic render farm to be able to do. Yeah, I mean, they'll still have the advantage for quantity, but I could work from home and still as easily access these capabilities as I could going in and renting studio space.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, again, just look at what we're doing with the tech that we have. This used to take a sound studio and a mixing, an engineer to run a board. And I'm going to run a couple of filters on this when we're done and clean it up for post-production, chop up a few things here and there, get rid of the that I like to do.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But let's be real.
Oh, stop it. I'm out of ice.
But also, for those of you listening or watching live, this will be the first episode that will go up live on YouTube at the same time that we release it through the podcast. So please feel free, if you want to see our smiling faces and interact a little bit more directly with us, you can do it through YouTube, or you can find us. We also are now available on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Podbean.
The whole gamut. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all this guy. Again, I'm just the talent. That's why you got me well lit and front and
He's so
center here.
pretty.
Yeah.
So pretty.
I just make sure this happens every week, and he's working behind the scenes to make sure that it is the most optimal. Yeah, I think we're fortunate that we have the unique skill sets to kind of tackle both ends of this.
He says, as you know, he makes himself pretty for the camera. I say all this whiskey, scotch, and bourbon just brings it extra glow.
So we did parenting, we did live, we did a little bit of gaming.
What else we got?
I don't know.
Job front and career?
Job front. Hallelujah, I got a raise, finally.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So, for lack of a better term, it's been a shit show. I work at a company, we have a union, and mad respect to the union and all the work they've done to support the working class man, right?
Which is what unions are supposed to do.
Which is what they're supposed to do. Unfortunately, with every union, any union, they have a tendency to enable protecting some of the laziest people, right? And it's a greater good thing. In order to get 100 people the benefits that they need, sometimes you get the one person that's going to take advantage of it. Right? It's a sad truth. And sadly, I have one of those coworkers that has taken advantage of the union and kind of skated by and is just a tad above me on the labor grade scale because he just complained enough that the boss said, screw it, it's whatever, it's a number in my book, I don't care, I'm not the one actually signing the paychecks.
Right.
Here you go, here's your upgrade. So my department, we do the production side of the product line. Again, it's aerospace. We do valves, we do controllers, we do whatnot. There's a production side. Basically, production is it's been designed, it's been approved, it's going actually on a piece of equipment. Before it gets to the production side, there is a engineering side that our clients come to us and say, we need a thing to do this, right? Their task is to design and implement that, find out how do we get this thing to do what you want it to do, and then
make sure it does it.
Right, make sure it does it and qualify it enough that, if it can do it consistently to the specs that they want, then it goes into production, then it comes into my department. Those two departments just got rolled into one.
They figure out how to do it.
And then actually do the end run around, which prior to this, because I have, a ton of experience, 16 years now of doing the product testing. I'm familiar with the setups. I'm familiar with the functions. I'm familiar with how things kind of operate. I kind of know where my parts are going. I've been tasked to help out the engineers because they're shorthanded, especially when COVID started. We had three people in their department take a COVID buyout, which basically retired them early to get them off the books, and then we had a layoff. So we lost a ton of talent. So I've been tasked with going into the engineering department and helping them out, helping them figure stuff out. And it's been fun, but there's red tape involved. I can't buy off on tests that I've run because I'm not in that department. I'm a production engineer. So they folded them together and gave everyone in the department a labor grade or wage increase, which means that one guy that was taking advantage and being lazy also got his labor grade upgrade. And then I was called into a meeting with my boss and the head of my union that said, so we need your cooperation to, get the entire department on board. That means we need you to cross-train the two guys that are higher labor grade than you to do what they're going to be required to do to get the job done per their title. It's kind of a slap in the face.
Right. We need you to train people that we're paying more.
Right.
Because we can't pay you more because of politics.
Right. We know that you wanted to make more because you know more than them, but we can't because we're being told that we can't pay anyone more. But now we're going to give everyone a raise, but in order to do that, we need you to actually get those two guys. One of them, I will give him his credit. He's been with the company for 30-something years. Mm-hmm. He is well worth, and he's earned his labor grades just on time served alone. And there's a lot of things he could teach me. The other one has skated by. But I've now got to teach them the newer tech that we do, because a lot of our newer tech is it's less manual tweaking, and there's a software element to it.
Right.
And that's kind of that's my strong suit.
What, you're good with computers and software? Imagine that.
Yeah. So, blessing and a curse. A little insult to injury, but I'm never going to complain about making more money, and I can actually look at my wife and say, haha, you have to try a little harder to out-earn me next year.
Yeah, she's informed me she's looking at getting a PhD so that she can bump her pay.
Right.
And she likes the idea of Dr. Fu.
You know what's sad? What's really sad about the whole thing is that I make decent money, but what I do really doesn't require what I get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll clear 80,000 this year. That's good. That's not great. That's middle class in Southern California.
Yeah.
Right? My wife has 2 masters and is going on a PhD, and she's not out earning me.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
Like, what?
No, my wife, who just got back into teaching, yeah, she's doing it part-time, but she's already been asked to be a site rep for the union. And there's a good chance that she's, I'd say 99% chance at this point, that she's going to be asked to be a senior union member representing the teachers union for her district. And it's like, okay. Technically, from a dollar per dollar standpoint, she would have made more on COVID.
Right.
With the extended unemployment and things like that. But she's doing a job share, which means she only works half a day and then splits the pay with another teacher because, she wants to be there and take care of our kid.
Mm-hmm.
And that apparently is a sin in the modern day and age. But now I'm in the entertainment industry, and the job search has been hard. We just had, September 1st, we did the Red Alert campaign, which was basically a ton of organizations and unions and things around the U.S. lighting up and saying, hey, this is the first time the entertainment industry has had to collapse because of the pandemic. We need the support.
Right.
Of, the additional unemployment because the way the industry is structured, majority of people are independent contractors, not employees. That's just the way it works. And as I said earlier in the podcast, we're looking at 2022 before things start really coming back. And that's live events. That's not just television and film and music concerts or things like that. That's all of the expos and conferences that you would go to. That's the theme parks. Yeah. That's your Broadway shows, your
all of my conventions have been basically shut down through the end of 2020, and then we're gonna revisit that again.
Mm-hmm.
we have a new Batman movie that's not coming out now because Robert Pattinson, the new
Who plays Batman is COVID positive.
COVID positive, and it shut down the entire production. The Rock and his entire family
Right.
contracted COVID. I don't know if there's a Fast and Furious or something that was being filmed that's no longer going to be filmed.
Right. I'm, thankful for the fact that people are seeing, usefulness in me, and the fact that I'm shortlisted with a bunch of companies, but none of them can move forward. One of the companies I'm talking with is a visual effects house that does primarily television.
Right.
And right now we've just been talking. There's three television series out of Atlanta that are actively filming. Everything else that's based around the United States is shut down. We got anything?
I've been absolutely swamped between this podcast and the other one, which we're going on now 4 weeks straight.
Well, you're about to have also a major fundraising event for Guardians Mental Health.
Yeah, we just had one with another gaming org that stepped up out of nowhere and raised $1,000 for us. Donated another $500, and these are just for the mental health kits that Guardians MH has been producing. Out of nowhere. So we tried to support them as much as we could. We've been trying to fast track the whole getting the kits shipped and getting the email sent and finding out the logistics on that and dealing with international shipping. And then, so next week we have, we're doing an all-out charity drive under our own name. And we have 3 days, 2.5 days of some pretty good talent coming on and doing some fundraising for us. But yeah, we had a regular podcast, and then our last guest we had, because we had to deal with an agent.
Mm-hmm.
You take what you can get.
Right.
She got slotted into an off week, so we didn't know how that was going to work out. And so when she got slotted on off week, we went, well, do we just push it back another 2 weeks, or do we? Oh wait, the charity drive is happening in that off week now because of the way it reslotted. So now we had to schedule another guest, which is going to be Miss 5,000 Watts. I'm going to be happy about that one.
Nice.
She's a big voice in the Destiny community and just an all around good person. But yeah, so we had that guest slotted. So now we have, instead of having our 2 weeks off, which is again has kind of offset our podcast.
Right.
I try to do these I try to flip flop them in the off week so I'm not overloaded. Life happens. Shit happens.
Yeah.
I'm rolling with it. It just means I have an extra shot.
How awful.
Right. What will I ever do? But yeah, so charity drives and
we'll post the link on where you can follow that charity drive in the show notes. I think that's a good place to end. So with that, ending episode 11 of the Whiskey Podcast, I'm True Data.
Yeah, I am Nate Fu. You can find me on Twitter at GG That's N8FOO. You can find him over at on Twitter at
True Data 2020. But with that, ladies and gents, have a good night and good luck.
Yep.